Hello friend, human reproduction. Let's start. As you are aware, humans are sexually reproducing and viviparous. The reproductive events in humans include formation of gametes, gametogenesis, that is sperms in males and ovum in females, transfer of sperms into the female and ovum in females, transfer of sperms into the female and genital tract, insemination and fusion of male and female gametes, fertilization leading to formation of zygote. This is followed by formation and development of blastocyst and its attachment to the uterine wall, implantation, embryonic development, gestation, and delivery of the baby, parturition. You have learned that these reproductive events occur after puberty. There are remarkable and there are remarkable differences between the reproductive events in the male and the female. For example, sperm formation continues even in old men, but formation of ovum ceases in women around the age of 50 years. Let us examine the male and the female reproductive systems in human. The male reproductive system is located in the pelvis region, figure 2.1a. It includes a pair of testes along with accessory ducts, glands, and the external genitalia. The testes are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called acrotum, scrotum. The scrotum helps in maintaining the low temperature of the testes to 2.5 degrees Celsius, lower than the normal internal body temperature necessary for spermatogenesis. In adults, each testis is oval in shape with the length of about 4 to 5 centimeter and width of about 2 to 3 centimeter. The testis is covered by a dense covering. Each testis has about 250 compartments called testicular lobules, figure 2.1b. Each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules in which sperms are produced. Each seminiferous tubule is lined on its inside by two types of cells called male germ cells, spermatogonia, and sterile cells, figure 2.2. The male germ cells undergo meiotic divisions, finally leading to sperm formation, while while sterilized cells provide for nutrition to the germ cells. The regions outside the seminiferous tubules called intestinal spaces contain small blood vessels, and the intestinal cells or Leydig cells, figure 2.2. Leydig cells synthesis and secrete testicular hormones called androgens. Other immunologically competent cells are also present. The male sex accessory ducts include testes, vasa efferentia, epididymis, and vasa deferens. Figure 2.1b. The seminiferous tubules of the testes open into the vasa efferentia through hereditary testes. The vasa efferentia leave the testes and open into epididymis located along the posterior surface of each testis. The epididymis leads to vas deferens that ascends to the abdomen and loop over the urinary bladder. It receives a duct from seminal vesicle and open into urethra as the ejaculatory duct, figure 2.1a. These ducts store and transport the sperms from the testes to the outside through urethra. The urethra originates from the urinary bladder and extends through the penis to its external opening called urethral meatus. The penis is the male external genitalia, figure 2.1ab. It is made up of special tissue that helps in erection of the penis to facilitate insemination. The enlarged end of penis, called the glans penis, is covered by a loose fold of skin called foreskin. The male accessory gland, figure 2.1 AB, include paired seminal vesicles and prostate and paired bulbourethral glands. Secretions of these glands constitute the seminal plasma, which is rich in fructose, calcium, and certain enzymes. The secretions of bulbourethral glands also helps in the lubrication of the penis. The female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries along with a pair of oviducts, uterus, cervix, vagina, and the external genitalia located in pelvic region. Figure 2.3a. These parts of the system, along with a pair of the mammary glands, are integrated structurally and integrated structurally and functionally to support the processes of ovulation, fertilization, pregnancy, birth, and child care. Ovaries are the primary female sex organs that produce the female gamete, ovum, and several steroid hormones, ovarian hormones. The ovaries are located one on each side of the lower abdomen. Figure 2.3b. Each ovary is about 2 to 4 cm in length and is connected to the pelvic wall and uterus by ligaments. Each ovary is covered by a thin epithelium which encloses the ovarian stroma. The stroma is divided into two zones of peripheral cortex and inner medulla. The oviducts, fallopian tubes, uterus, and vagina constitute the female accessory ducts. Each fallopian tube is about 10 to 12 centimeter long and extends from the periphery of each ovary to the uterus. Figure 2.3b. The part closer to the ovary is the funnel-shaped infundibulum. The edges of the infundibulum possesses finger-like projections called the fimbriae, which help in which help in collection of the ovum after ovulation. The infundibulum leads to a wider part of the oviduct called ampulla. The last part of the oviduct, isthmus, has the narrow lumen and it joins the uterus. The uterus is single and it is also called womb. And the shape of uterus is like an inverted pear. It is supported by ligaments attached to the pelvic wall. The uterus opens into vagina through a narrow cervix. The cavity of the cervix is called the cervical canal. Figure 2.3b, which along with vagina external thin membrane. Vagina forms the birth canal. The wall of the uterus has 3 layers of tissues: the external thin membrane, perimetrium, middle thick layer of smooth muscle, myometrium, and inner glandular layer called endometrium that lines the uterine cavity. And the endometrium undergoes cyclical changes during menstrual cycle, while the myometrium exhibits a strong contraction during delivery of the baby. The female external genitalia include mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Figure 2.3a. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair, and the labia majora are fleshy folds of tissue which extend down from the mons pubis and surround the vaginal opening. The labia minora are paired folds of tissue under the labia majora. The opening of the vagina is often covered partially by a membrane called hymen, and the clitoris is the tiny finger-like structure which lie in the which lies at the upper junction of the two labia minora above the urethral opening. The hymen is often torn during the first coitus intercourse, and however it can also be broken by a sudden fall or jolt insertion of the vaginal tampon, the active participation or in some sports like horseback riding, like cycling, etc. In some women, the hymen persists even after coitus. In fact, the presence or absence of hymen is not reliable indicator of virginity or sexual experience. A functional mammary gland is a characteristic of all female mammals. The mammary glands are paired structures, breasts that contain glandular tissues and variable amount of fat. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 mammary lobes containing clusters of cells called alveoli. Figure 2.4. The cells of alveoli secrete milk which is stored in the cavities, lumens of alveoli. The alveoli open into mammary tubules. The tubules of each lobe join to form a mammary duct. Several mammary ducts join to form a wider mammary ampulla, which is connected to a lactiferous duct through which milk is sucked out. Gametogenesis, the primary sex organs, the testes in the males and the ovaries in the females produce gametes, that is sperms and ovum, respectively by the process called gametogenesis. And the intestines, the membrane intestines, the immature male germ cells, spermatozonia, produce sperms by spermatogenesis, and that begins at puberty. The spermatogonium present on the inside wall of the seminiferous tubules multiply by mitotic division and increase in number. Each spermatogonium is diploid and contains 46 chromosomes. Some of the spermatogonia, called primary spermatocytes, periodically undergo meiosis. Primary spermatocytes complete the first meiotic division, reduction division, leading to formation of two equal haploid cells called secondary spermatocytes, which have only 23 chromosomes each. The secondary spermatocytes undergo the second meiotic spermatids. Figure 2.5. What would be the number of chromosomes in the spermatids? The spermatids are transformed into spermatozoa sperms by the process called spermiogenesis. After spermiogenesis, sperms heads become embedded in the Sertoli cells and are finally released from the seminiferous tubules by the process called spermation. Spermatogenesis starts at the age of puberty due to significant increase in the secretion of gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH. This, if recall, is a hypothalamic hormone. The increased levels of GnRH and then acts at the anterior pituitary gland and stimulates secretion of two gonadotropins, luteinizing hormones LH and follicle stimulating hormones FSH. LH acts at the Leydig cells and stimulates synthesis and secretion of androgens. Androgens in turn stimulates the process of spermatogenesis. FSH acts on the Sertoli cells and stimulates secretion of some factors which help in the process of spermiogenesis. Let us examine the structure of a sperm. See it is a microscopic structure composed of head, neck, and middle piece and a tail. Figure 2.6. Plasma membrane envelops the whole body of sperm. The sperm head contains an elongated haploid nucleus, the anterior portion of which is covered by a cap-like structure, acrosome, The acrosome is filled with enzymes that help fertilization of the ovum. The middle piece possesses the numerous mitochondria which produce energy for the movement of tail that facilitate sperm motility, essential for fertilization. The human male ejaculates about 200 to 300 million sperms during the coitus, of which for normal fertility, at least 60% sperm must have normal shape and size, and at least 40% of them must show vigorous motility. Sperms released from the seminiferous tubules that are transported by the accessory ducts, secretions of epididymis, vasa deferens, seminal vesicle, and plasma and prostate are essential for maturation and motility of sperms. The seminal plasma, along with the sperms, constitute the semen. Now, the functions of male sex accessory ducts and glands are maintained by the testicular hormones, androgens. The process of formation of mature female gamete is called oogenesis, which is markedly different from spermatogenesis. Oogenesis is initiated during the embryonic development stage when a couple of million gametes, mother cells, oogonia, are formed within each fetal ovary. No more oogonia are formed and added after birth. These cells start division and enter into prophase 1 now of the meiotic division and get temporarily arrested at that stage and called primary oocytes. Each primary oocyte then gets surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells and is called the primary follicle, figure 2.7. A large number of these follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to puberty. Therefore, at puberty, only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. The primary follicle at surrounded by more layers of granulosa cells and the new theca and are called secondary follicles. The secondary follicle soon transforms into a tertiary follicle, which is characterized by a fluid filled cavity called antrum. The theca layer is organized into an inner theca interna and an outer theca externa. It is important to draw your attention that it is at this stage that that the primary oocyte within a tertiary follicle grows in size and completes its first meiotic division. It is an unequal division resulting in the formation of a large haploid secondary oocyte and a tiny first polar body, figure 2.8b. Secondary oocyte retains bulk of the nutrient-rich cytoplasm of the primary oocyte. Can you think of any advantage for this? Does the first polar body born out of first meiotic division divide further or degenerate? At present, we are not very certain about this. The tertiary follicle further changes into the premature follicle or Graafian follicle, figure 2.7. The secondary oocyte forms a new membrane called zona pellucida surrounding it. The Graafian follicle now ruptures to release the secondary oocyte ovum from the ovary by the process called ovulation. Can you identify major differences between spermatogenesis and oogenesis? A diagrammatic representation of spermatogenesis and oogenesis is given below, figure 2.8. Menstrual cycle, the reproductive cycle. The female primates, the example monkey, apes, and human beings is called menstrual cycle. The first menstruation begins probably around is called gonadotropins, LH and FSH. It increases gradually during the follicular phase and stimulates follicular development as well as secretion of estrogens. estrogens by the growing follicles, both LH and FSH, at a peak level in the middle of cycle, about 14th day, rapid secretion of LH leading to its maximum level during the mid cycle called LH surge induces rupture of Graafian follicle and thereby the release of ovum. Ovulation. The ovulatory phase is followed by the luteal phase, during which the remaining parts of the Graafian follicle transform as the corpus luteum. Figure 2.9. The corpus luteum secretes large amounts of progesterone, which is essential for maintenance of the endosterone endometrium, or such an endometrium is necessary for implantation of the fertilized ovum and other events of pregnancy. During pregnancy, all events of the menstrual cycle stops and there is no menstruation. In the absence of fertilization, the corpus luteum degenerates. This causes disintegration of the endometrium, leading to menstruation, marking a new cycle. In human beings, menstrual cycles causes menstrual cycle ceases around 50 years of age, that is termed as menopause. Cyclic menstruation is an indicator of normal reproductive phase and extends between menarche and menopause. Menstrual hygiene, maintenance of hygiene and sanitation during menstruation is very important. Take bath and clean yourself regularly. Use sanitary napkins or clean homemade pads. Change sanitary napkins and homemade pads after every 4 to 5 hours as per the requirement. Dispose of the used sanitary napkins properly, wrapping it with the used paper. Do not throw the used napkins in the drain pipe of toilets or in the open area. After handling the napkin, wash hands and with soap. Fertilization and implantation. And during copulation, coitus, semen is released by the penis into the vagina. Insemination, the motile sperms swim rapidly, pass through the cervix, enter into the uterus, and finally reach the ampullary region of the fallopian tube. Figure 2.11b. The ovum released by the ovary is also transported to the ampullary region where fertilization takes place. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperms are transported simultaneously to the ampullary region. This is the region. Now, why not all copulation leads to fertilization and pregnancy? The process of fusion of sperm with the one ovum is called fertilization. During fertilization, the sperms come in contact with the zona pellucida layer of the ovum membrane. And this induces the completion of the meiotic division of the secondary oocyte. The second meiotic division is also unequal and results in the formation of second polar body and a haploid ovum luteal. Soon the haploid nucleus of the sperms and that of the ovum fuse together to form a diploid zygote. How many chromosomes will be there is there in the zygote? One has to remember that the sex of the baby has been decided at the stage itself. Let us see now how, as you know, and the chromosome pattern in the human female is XX and the male is XY. Therefore, all the haploid gametes who were produced by the female have the sex chromosome X, whereas in the male gametes sperms the sex chromosome could either X or Y. Hence, 50% of sperms carry the X chromosome while the other 50% carry the Y. After fusion of the male and female gametes, the zygote would carry either XX or XY depending on whether the sperm carrying X and Y fertilized the ovum. The zygote carrying XX would have developed into a female baby and XY would form a male. You will learn more about the chromosomal pattern in chapter 5. That's why scientifically it is correct to say that the sex of the baby is determined by the father and not by the mother. The meiotic division starts as the zygote moves through the isthmus of the ovum of oviduct called cleavage towards the uterus, figure 2.11, and forms 2, 4, 8, 16 daughter cells called blastomeres. The embryo with 2, 8 to 16 blastomeres is called morula, figure 2.11e. The morula continues the morula continues to divide and transforms into blastocyst, figure 2.11g. As it moves further into the uterus, the blastomere in the blastocyst are arranged into the outer layer called the trophoblast, and an inner group of cells attached to trophoblast called the inner cell mass. The trophoblast layer then gets attached to the endometrium, and the inner cell mass gets differentiated as the embryo. After attachment, the uterine cells divides rapidly and covers the blastocyst. As a result, the blastocyst becomes embedded in the endometrium of the uterus, figure 2.11. Its tapeage. This is called implantation, and it leads to pregnancy and embryonic development. After implantation, finger-like projections appear on the trophoblast called the chorionic villi, which are surrounded by the uterine tissue and maternal blood. The chorionic villi and uterine tissue become interdigited with each other and jointly form the structural and functional unit between developing embryo, fetus, and maternal body called placenta, figure 2.12. The placenta facilitates the supply of oxygen and nutrients to the embryo and also removal of carbon dioxide and excretory waste materials produced by the embryo. The placenta is connected to the embryo through an umbilical cord, which helps in the transport of substances to and from the embryo. Placenta also acts as an endocrine tissue and produces several hormones like human chorionic gonadotropin (HCG), human placental lactogen (HPL), estrogens, progesterones, etc. In the latter phase of pregnancy, a hormone called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. Let us remember that HCG, HPL, and relaxin are produced in woman only during pregnancy. In addition, during pregnancy, the levels of other hormones like estrogens, progesterones, is cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine, etc. are increased several folds in the maternal blood. Increased for production of these hormones is essential for supporting the fetal growth, metabolic changes in the mother, and maintenance of pregnancy. Immediately after implantation, the inner cell mass embryo differentiates into an outer layer called ectoderm and the inner layer called endoderm. The mesoderm soon appears between the ectoderm and the endoderm. These three layers give rise to all tissues, organs in adults. It needs to be mentioned here that the inner cell mass contains certain cells called stem cells, which have a potency to give rise to all the tissues and organs. What are the major features of embryonic development at various months of pregnancy? The human pregnancy lasts 9 months. Do you find out? Do you know for how many months pregnancy lasts dogs? elephants, cats. Find out in human beings after 1 month of pregnancy, the embryo's heart is formed. The first sign of growing fetus may be noticed by listening of the heart sound carefully through the stethoscope. By the end of the second month of pregnancy, the fetus develops limbs and digits. By the end of 12 weeks, the first trimester, most of the major organ systems are formed. For example, the limbs and external genital organs are well developed. The first movements of the fetus and appearance of hair on the head are usually observed during the fifth month. By the end of about 24 weeks, end of second trimester, the body is covered with fine hair. Eyelids separate. The eyelashes are formed. By the end of 9 months of pregnancy. The fetus is fully developed and is ready for delivery. Parturition and lactation. The average duration of human pregnancy is about 9 months, which is called the gestation period. Um, Vigorous contraction of the uterus at the end of the pregnancy causes expulsion and delivery of the fetus. This process of delivery of the fetus, childbirth, is called parturition. Parturition is induced by the complex neuroendocrine mechanism. The signals for parturition originate from the fully developed fetus and the placenta, which induce mild uterine contractions called fetal ejection reflex. This triggers a release of oxytocin from the maternal pituitary. Oxytocin acts on the uterine muscle and causes stronger uterine contractions, which in turn stimulates further secretion of oxytocin, and the stimulatory reflex between the uterine contraction and oxytocin secretes continuous, resulting in stronger and stronger contractions. This leads to expulsion of the baby infant delivered. The placenta is also expelled out of the uterus. What do you think? Now the doctors inject to induce delivery. The mammary glands of the fetus of the female undergo differentiation during pregnancy and starts producing milk towards the end of pregnancy by the process of lactation, which this help the mother in feeding the newborn. The milk produced during the initial few days of lactation is called the colostrum, which contains several antibodies absolutely essential to develop resistance for the newborn babies. Breastfeeding during the initial period of infant growth is recommended by doctors for bringing up a healthy baby. Human reproduction summary. Humans are sexually reproducing and viviparous. The male reproductive system is composed of the pair of testes, the male sex accessory ducts, and the accessory glands and external genitalia. Each testis has about 250 compartments called testicular lobules, and each lobule contains 1 to 3 highly coiled seminiferous tubules. Each seminiferous tubule is lined inside by spermatogonia and Sertoli cells, and the spermatogonia undergo meiotic divisions leading to sperm formation, which while Sertoli cells provide nutrition to the dividing germ cells. The Leydig cells outside the seminiferous tubules synthesize and secrete testicular cells outside the seminiferous tubules synthesize and secrete testicular hormones and called androgens. The male external genitalia is called a penis. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries, a pair of oviducts, uterus, vagina, external genitalia, and a pair of mammary gland. The ovaries produce the female gamete, ovum, and some steroid hormones. Ovarian follicle is in different stages of the development are embedded in the stroma. The oviducts, uterus, and vagina are female accessory ducts. The uterus has 3 layers, namely perimetrium, myometrium, and And the uterus has three layers: perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. The female external genitalia includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. The mammary glands are one of the female secondary sexual characteristics. Spermatogenesis results in the formation of sperms that are transported by the male sex accessory ducts. A normal human sperm is composed of head, neck, middle piece, and tail. The process of formation of mature female gametes is called oogenesis. The reproductive cycle of female primates is called menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle starts only after attaining sexual maturation, puberty. During ovulation, only the ovum is released per menstrual cycle. The induced the during for ovulation, the cyclical changes in the ovary and the uterus during menstrual cycle. After the coitus, sperms are transported to the ampulla, where the sperm fertilizes the ovum, leading to formation of the diploid zygote. The presence of X and Y chromosome in the sperm that determines the sex of embryo. The zygote undergoes repeated mitotic division to form a blastocyst, which is implanted in the uterus, resulting in pregnancy. After 9 months of pregnancy, the fully developed fetus is ready for delivery. The process of childbirth is called parturition, which is induced by a complex neuroendocrine mechanism involving cortisol, estrogens, and oxytocin. Mammary glands differentiate during pregnancy and secret milk after childbirth. The newborn baby is fed milk by the mother. Lactation during the initial few months of growth. Human reproduction में हमने पहले से देखा. Human reproduction, the male reproductive system. सेकंड नंबर का हमारा चैप्टर है ह्यूमन रिप्रोडक्शन, जिसमें हमने मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम देखी पहले. उसके बाद फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम, देन नेक्स्ट गैमेटोजेनेसिस, देन नेक्स्ट नेचुरल साइकिल, देन नेक्स्ट फर्टिलाइजेशन एंड इम्प्लांटेशन, देन नेक्स्ट प्रेगनेंसी एंड एम्ब्रियोनिक डेवलपमेंट, then next parturition and lactation, then summary. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe.